I am a survivor of narcissistic abuse by the hands of my ex-husband, Peter Sessa. At one point, it got so dark I almost took my own life. Now, my abuser is hosting a so-called healing event this November in St. Pete under the name Canadelic, a brand we started together that I still have the trademark pending for. I feel compelled to speak out and share my story and show the evidence because he's a predator and he's still out there preying on people with the help of his supporters. There are so many layers to this abuse. It lasted 5 years and it's actually still going on, and it's hard to put it all into one video. What made it much worse is I was in the process of exploring psychedelic therapies while I was being gaslit, manipulated, and lied to. I felt like I was going crazy. I felt like I was losing my mind. Now he claims he has the answers to help heal your trauma. I'm going to read to you an email that Peter sent to our therapist, Sherry Kaplan. She looked me in the face while Peter was there and said, "This is an honest man. You can trust him." This is what it looks like going to therapy with a malignant, covert narcissist. They try and manipulate and gaslight the situation, and they're held accountable just enough only for what the partner can prove and is aware of. On April 4th, 2023, Pete says, "Hi, Sherry. I hope you're doing well. Colleen and I have had a major problem and a breakup seems inevitable. I'm reaching out to you because I'm having trouble coping and Colleen may have the same issue. First of all, I want to thank you for all you've done for us. I couldn't be more appreciative, and no, I have no expectations of a reply. This time I really messed up. My mismanagement of the Canadelic budget put us in the red. We had to borrow $40,000 from her dad to put on the event. The money didn't come in as expected, and we still owe it. You can imagine how unbearable this is for her. We already live in his house for little rent, of which we are behind, and she already lost $90,000 in a gym venture. This is her worst nightmare, feeling dependent on her dad and me, who can't come through. I think you may have seen this coming when you heard about us losing money. When Investadelic got postponed, things got much worse. Our lack of income and the debt to her father were weighing so heavy on her that it came out in all sorts of ways. On the other hand, I was being defensive, getting really anxious and scrambling around to try and make some money to ultimately not lose her. This has been my thing, acting out of fear that she'll leave me, and ironically, it's led to this. I think you know that I've always had the best intentions, that I want to build a life with Colleen, and I just suck at making it happen. I don't feel like I have an ulterior motive other than not wanting to feel abandoned, not wanting to feel unworthy. I struggle with that, you know? In my attempt to help Colleen feel more secure about our future, I put together a plan on how we can repay the loan and come out on top. She expressed interest in both owning a portion of the company herself. No shit, we built it together on my face and my depression and suicide, as well as disinterest in actually planning events because I was never appreciated. She told me she hated event planning and talking on the phone and never wanted to do that. She wanted to focus on patient care in a clinic model or something maybe I could do on my own, right? Her words to me were, "I don't know what to do, that's the problem." She expressed that she felt like she couldn't do a lot of the work that needs to be done on the computer, and that frustrated her. She was very offended when I suggested that she handle all the administrative work because she knows how. I tried to come up with a plan that would give her ownership and flexibility. Currently, Canadelic isn't worth anything. We're in the red, but I have a lot of potential to make a lot of money next year. My plan was to give Colleen 25% of the company, no matter if she worked on the event next year or not. If she did work on the event, then she'd get another 10% in salary and a bonus. She was very offended because it was built on my face, my struggles, and my parents funded it, Peter. Wake the fuck up. Jesus Christ. I asked for her feedback, questions, and if she felt it was unfair. She said she didn't know about the percentages, and we got into talking about who does more work. That was a terrible idea. He says, "In hindsight, I should have made it 50% because the whole point was to make her feel safe. I really don't care who owns what. We're married. I get caught up in the structuring of something to give her flexibility. I didn't think it all the way through. The job description for Canadelic also had very limited responsibilities, specifically so that she could pursue something else if she wanted to. I wrote this on the slide I made. I thought that since I had an event company to begin with, I should have more ownership. But it was stupid. I realize that now. It was stupid business logic, not thinking like a partner. What really made her mad was when I said that I came up with the name Canadelic. I know that was stupid and I was wrong for saying that. We were in the car together, and regardless of who said it, we were brainstorming. I just got defensive at the time, feeling like all my work and experience was being minimized. I regretted it immediately, but by that time it was too late. I know I fucked up. This has all been because of my lack of courage in making big decisions out of fear for the past 3 years. I'm ashamed of myself. I've been afraid of losing Colleen or making her angry. That is, do anything to avoid either, whatever. It's not just this. My fear of losing her has influenced so many financial decisions that on top of already bad budgeting skills has made me undependable and irresponsible. I can't argue with that. I have been. I don't want to be anymore. I don't know what to do. I still love her even though she hates me. Next, you're going to see how he flips the script with the new therapist, Dr. Angela Fisher, with Bionic Bloom, who doesn't know the full context, so he plays victim of narcissistic abuse himself. This false narrative doesn't just serve him. It fed her brand, her business, and her stage appearances. Even the chance to interview him as a supposed victim at Canadelic Miami, an event that he and I started in 2021, way before she was even involved. A slice of the industry still props him up, not because they necessarily believe him, but because his story benefits them. They don't care who gets hurt in the process, including Amy, Ian Beckles, myself, and likely many more he's exploited, owed, and discarded. Oh, including my parents, by the way, and my children. I believe malignant covert narcissist is the most dangerous type of narcissist because they act like the victim and play on people's empathy. Unless you know the real story, they can easily fool you. That's why I'm making these videos, because we built Canadelic together for my healing journey with cannabis and psychedelics, because people are being invited to a healing event that hides the real harm. I cannot stay silent. People deserve to know who he and his supporters really are. Here's the footage, him on stage at his most recent Canadelic Miami event in May of 2025, telling the world he's the victim of narcissistic abuse.
So, some of the things that you personally have had to endure to continue with this brand and these events are pretty significant in your life. One of them, if you feel okay to address this, is a loss of marriage.
Yeah, that was...
How does that affect the event?
In so many different ways, but, you know, for the most part, you know, I have to try and put, you know, how I feel about things, or, you know, the personal issues that I have with, you know, pushing forward with, you know, with an event aside for the greater good of the event, right? And that's what's, you know, again, keeps driving, you know, to do this kind of stuff is, it's not, you know, just because it's difficult for me doesn't mean that it's important and doesn't need to get done. So yeah, going through the divorce, especially with, you know, with someone that used to participate in the events with me, and especially since the, you know, the very public kind of just, you know, image that was portrayed about that separation. Was really, really, really difficult to deal with, and there were a lot of obstacles to overcome with just the brand Canadelic, with hosting events. And let me just say, without getting into too much detail, that putting on these events was, after the separation, was extremely more difficult, not just because of what was missing, but from some some work that was being done to actively, you know, quash the events or stop the events. So that was something that I really felt like, you know, made me want to give up, made me want to stop doing the events. But again, you know, purpose, because that's pretty much all I really, you know, had for a little while. So yeah, so we're still here doing that, even though it was extremely difficult, and it's difficult, you know, when, you know, there's a breach of trust like that. It goes very, 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 it cuts very deep and reverberates through your whole life. So it made a lot of things very difficult, but at the end of the day, you got to kind of do it because it's important. And it's important to other people, and it's important for the community, and it's important for society at large. And I don't want to sound too egotistical saying that, because but just from hearing what people say, it's something that means a lot to a lot of people. So sometimes I got to put how I feel about things aside.
This isn't the time. So I'm going to keep asking about your feelings.
Okay.
You've done some deep work around betrayal and rejection in your identity, the Canadelic identity. How did that rupture become a mirror for the healing that you personally still needed?
Jeez. I guess, there are things that I saw, that were, in front of me at the time that I didn't want to acknowledge. And this kind of pushed me to a place where I needed to acknowledge these things. And that's, how I, it's a very tough process when you're forced to acknowledge some things that are right in front of you. But at the end of the day, I think that it was stuff that needed to happen. And sometimes you think that the universe makes certain things happen and pushes you in certain directions. Or you can say it's the universe, or you could say it's your own subconscious actions making that stuff happen. I go back and forth. Yeah, so I make all the little micro decisions to make this stuff happen, and I don't realize I'm doing. But that's a tough question. It's hard for me to even wrap my head around that question. It's been a lot of self-discovery, a lot of trying to realize where my strengths and weaknesses lie, and stuff like that. I think at the end of the day, it's that. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. So maybe that's a metaphor for this event. Maybe it's just like a growth phase. It's not easy, and it's in its growth phase, and it'll come out stronger on the other side.
Oh.
There's a large part of you that had to deal with, you're describing grief. What helped you transform that actual grief into growth?
I don't think I had much of a choice.
I appreciate the resilience, but I'm guessing we're in a healing space. There's got to be, what do you use? How did you, reflection, therapy, there's a lot of hard work involved.
There's a lot of therapy, a lot of journaling.
Speaking of journaling, this is a microdosing coloring book and journal that Pete made for me, his wife, to help with my anxiety and depression. Meanwhile, he was the one who was causing it. How sick is that? This is Peter's upcoming event, Canadelic in St. Pete. Be mindful of who you allow to help you along your healing journey. Not everyone has your best interest in mind. And be very, very careful, especially with psychedelic therapy involved in products. Because not everyone holding space is holding integrity. And I would say that for my ex-husband. And it seems to me like his supporters do not care about who they're supporting as long as they get on stage and they're making money in the process. I wish you all well. I appreciate you listening to my story, and I love you. Take care.